Hey there, Adrienne Lee here. Just thought I would pop in and talk to you about what's going on in the planets and the stars. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for January 7th, 2020. So here we are, this is day one of the epic Saturn-Pluto conjunction that's going to last for 8 days total, from the 7th to the 14th. So the other thing that's going on exact today, starting, is Jupiter conjunct the south node of the moon. That's at 8 degrees Capricorn. We also have Mars at 2 degrees Sagittarius in a sweet trine with Chiron, supporting us through this intensity. And Venus is at exactly 22 degrees of Aquarius today, one sign over from Pluto and Saturn. So it's really powerful if we look at all of these twos, 22 degrees, Saturn 22, Pluto 22, Venus is at 22. We've got Jupiter in the south node at 8 degrees, which is 4 twos, added up. And so we're the planets, the universe, energies are telling us something very important. Now, 22 degrees is a master builder number. It's a very potent number. It has to do with it's a kind of a portal energy into a brand new, building something entirely new. And then 8 with Jupiter in the south node at 8, at 8 degrees Capricorn. 8 is a number of transformation, and 8 is the number associated with Scorpio, the house of Scorpio, which Pluto rules the house of Scorpio. So we've got all these twos, and of course 2020, there's 2 twos there, right? And so 2 is a number about working together collaboratively. 4 is a number of structure and building walls and manifesting form, the physical form, the earth, the structures, the home. And then 8 is a number with 2 4s, and 4 twos added up is that number of transformation. So we're looking at transforming our physical reality with all these planets in Capricorn. We have 5 planets in Capricorn, such an epic configuration. And Capricorn is an earth sign, and it represents structures and organizational structures of our reality. So literally the messages are about transforming our physical reality. Now this would be kind of encouraging, because we've been talking about how these souls that are drawn to this work often feel like they don't fit in here. This physical world doesn't support them in their energetic being. And this is very true. And yet, and then we've been looking at all these really intense energetic changes, and we can feel them, sensitive souls can feel them. And yet we don't have evidence in our everyday life. It's like, oh yeah, same. Everybody's just kind of going along. And it's like, wait a minute, Twilight Zone, right? And so, maybe this is where we get more on board. Now, Saturn, so powerful, there is a ruler of Capricorn right next to Pluto at 22 degrees, master builder number, building something entirely new. But Saturn represents our manifested physical world and the limits and obstructions of this reality. Now, a metaphorical energy around this could be, when you are trying to do something in the physical world, just trying to simply through your day make something happen. It could be like a bigger project you're trying to make happen, or it could be just your daily life going along and trying to get your ducks in a row, your cords untangled. So Saturn has an energy of entanglement and karma, because our physical world is cumbersome, right? And so that feeling in the physical world when just things aren't quite working together, and then you have to take extra steps, and you have to adjust, and you have to deal with the fact that you're in a physical reality, and maybe this is metaphorically kind of where we're at in this bigger picture. And when we're talking about, so we're talking about entanglements. Now, this is kind of the deal with Saturn and in Capricorn and Pluto right there. We're talking about this physical reality. Now, the physical reality is subject to sudden change because just by the fact that it is physical and it's manifested form, it's not permanent. Right? So that's kind of part of the whole trauma of being a human being, is that we're like constantly changing all the time. And we want to grab a hold of life and make it stop sometimes and have, get what we want and just kind of hold on to it. But life doesn't work that way. It's always coming and going. And that's kind of this message, is that a new era is coming. New energies are coming. And we best get on board with the ride. Although some of us have been on board for a very long time waiting for it, and yet we still don't have a sense of what's really going on. Now, when we're talking about entanglements, this kind of energy of the cumbersome physical world and our physical bodies, like pulling this along, we also it also brings to mind these karmic contracts that are on the table right now for everybody, especially Pluto there, around power and where we've given our power away, what we thought was powerful, what we believed to be an appropriate power structure to represent humanity, what we bought into, which of course we're coming to find is full of lies and holes, like Oz's curtain with all those holes. And we're seeing through that what we thought was powerful isn't actually powerful. And that we in our own light have the most power of the universe. The power of the universe is available right here in our very own body, in our chakra system, in our energetic field. And so it's a game changer, this energy. So it's interesting because Saturn is kind of like wants to hold on to time, right? Because it rules time. And it's like that feeling of being like, oh, time's moving too fast or too slow, and I want to hold on and have something stable. Right? Humans are just constantly trying to stabilize, and yet our world is always changing. And so Saturn with Pluto, the transformer, the destroyer, the wrecking ball, is coming in and informing our physical reality with a whole new vibration. And so we're looking at transforming our physical world. It's being transformed. What we thought was physical, and what that means to us, our relationship to it and time, and maybe building and transforming this into something entirely new, because just a couple of days, Uranus is turning direct, and that happening on the day of this partial lunar eclipse on Friday the 10th. And at the same time as the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and at the same time as Jupiter exactly conjunct the South Node, is all speaking about dropping the past and moving into the future, moving into these new energies. And so is that what's happening? We're transforming our world into something entirely new. And it's interesting because for a lot of souls, these souls drawn to this work have had this feeling of going back and forth between different time dimensional frequencies, like, oh, heavy down in the lower matrix energy, the oppression energy, just the feeling held down, feeling of things working against you. That's really vibrationally, the energy can be the energy of Saturn. And then having periods of time in this lighter vibration, and everything looks the same. And you're still interacting with the same people, but you can feel completely different. And is that part of what's going on? And those of us who are sensitive are noticing it. It's like we're just having this huge backdrop change in our world, in our reality right now. And of course, I don't think it's going to make sense for a little while, maybe the end of this year after Jupiter makes its play coming into connection with Saturn and Pluto. But something is going on. And those of us who are sensitive can feel it. Now, personally and individually, we are having pressure. Okay. This Capricorn energy seems to be affecting people, and it's different depending on your chart. But in general, it's a feeling of pressure, and it's pushing on us, almost just like this heavy lead weight. And yet, part of the energy of Saturn we've talked about is something to work against, you know? So the energy that's coming through around this time is to surrender to the intensity, surrender to this vice-like feeling, and use it. Use everything to move yourself forward, to move out of these old patterns, to empower yourself. Because with Mars is at 2 degrees today, another 2 of Sagittarius in this perfect trine with Chiron. And this is a helpful energy. And it's about Chiron and Aries is wounds around where you have not been true to who you are, where you've pretended you were something different in order to survive or get what you need, and playing small. And we've all done this, especially these souls. So Mars and trine to Chiron is saying, we do this through empowering the self. This is about empowerment. It's not about being beaten down. It's about taking that being beaten down and using it to finally stand up for who we really are in our life. And is this what's required? Is this what's making the change? Is it one by one the souls are being like, no, I'm not playing the game anymore, right? Like, is that the big game changer that's happening? So that's a really potent and powerful energy. And of course, then with Jupiter exactly on the south node at 8 degrees, it's that transformation energy. And Jupiter, the south node of the moon, is our karmic stuff from the past, what's dragging on us from the past, what's keeping us from moving forward. And so Jupiter brings light and expansion and opportunity. And it can be rather like, whoa, like putting a spotlight on things. And so we're getting this very clear picture of what's been holding us back that was so hidden in our subconscious. And this has definitely got all stirred up back in October. Like, we have been being prepared for this time, maybe for longer than that, but definitely since October of 2019, we have been in this energy, and that Mercury in Scorpio digging up this stuff. And now it's like, okay, how do I get rid of it? What do I do? Now this is an interesting thing that's coming up around contracts. These authority energies, that Oz energy is so powerful, or it pretends to be so powerful. And it's got this energy of like scaring you, this programmed fear, scaring you back into your little 3D matrix. Get back in there. You escape out a little bit and it's like, oh no, you're not safe out here, right? Yet we know that these new energies want to catch us. And so it's a total and complete lie. But it's like that lie is being revealed to us. And those authority energies, this is the deal with these authority contracts. When you go to break these, or you say, wait a minute, I don't believe in these forces working against me anymore. I say no more to this, right? And so you get to this place, this is part of our place on our journey, where we said it doesn't make sense that some force outside of me gets to say whether or not I can exit the matrix, whether or not I can be my true self. And yet we get so easily the fear energies and the obstruction energies and the heaviness. It's like, oh, it's just so much easier to go get back in your prison, right? And that's the hard part, that where so many of these souls have been, because it's like the closer you get to breaking free from these chains, the more energies work against you. It's kind of, that's the Saturn energy. It's like, oh yeah, you really think you're ready? Let's obstruct, let's test, let's push you. And but it's a lie, because when part of my work in my individual sessions is a big important part of the work is breaking contracts. And the deal with breaking contract is that you'll always get a little bit of a thing of like, oh no, you shouldn't do that, or is this safe, or that kind of thing will come up. But the reality is that when you decide to break a contract, it's up to you. You don't need the other person's approval. You're never going to get it, right? Just like we're not going to get validation and support from the people around us right now. We're too close to the finish line. And so it's like the people around us are, everybody at some point on your journey it's going to feel like everybody around you is working against you, because any part of them that's operating in subconsciousness is going to allow these obstructive forces to work through, you know? And so we get in this place of like, oh, I can't win against this, these forces working against me, you know? And this is part of our little, poor little victimized human thing that we get into. And we need to understand that it's up to us to break the contracts. It's not, we don't need anybody's permission to do it. That's where we kind of get stuck in the trap. So this is going to be a big focus of the partial lunar eclipse soul group session. I'm thinking we're definitely going to be doing some authority contracts, breaking those in that session. That's Friday morning, Mountain time, 9 a.m. Mountain time this Friday on the 10th, just a couple of hours before the exact partial lunar eclipse. And so we'll be looking at these energies, but, you know, we're definitely in this like, okay, so we've been living in 3D, and then we're moving up to 5D and higher energies. Who knows what's really happening, right? But 4D energies, which is interesting, all these fours, at least the 2s and the 8s, they all, you know, are related to the number 4. And remember that total solar eclipse happened at 4 degrees Capricorn. And so the fourth dimension is like a hall of mirrors. It's like the Bogart in Harry Potter. Do you remember that? Where it was like your worst fears became visualized and you have to face them. That's what the fourth dimension is. And so a lot of people, now we're also in this energy that goes along with the authority contracts of this like spiritual quarantine. You know, it's kind of like, just you can get so far on your journey, and then you're kind of banging up against a wall, banging up against a confine, feeling incredibly lonely because you're being blocked from connection to other souls. And it's like this hall of mirrors and banging your head against the wall. We've been talking about this. So many souls are stuck here in this fourth dimensional energy where it's like this blooming of karma and situations and things that are just so intense. And it's like, feels like you're playing a video game that is real and very scary, you know, and you got to watch your every move, and you got to watch every person, and you got to pay vigilant, be close attention. This is part of the energy of this time. This is like hypervigilance. Now, that's part of the Capricorn energy. It's like being aware, and they are paying attention. They're organized. They want to kind of make sense of things. And this is really, they pay attention to details, Capricorn people, and they're really good at organizing and managing. And that's what we need to do right now. It's like we need to be the manager again of our energy, of our field, of our life force, of our destiny, and take back the reins, right? And be like take charge, you know, because that's kind of the deal. It's like we got here because we weren't willing to take charge of our own self. We had to survive. We had to compromise. We had to come up with ways to get through this earth experience, through these persecutions and everything that's happened to us in these past lives. And now it's just game over for all of these stories. And so individually, we're facing these walls. We've created our fourth dimensional quarantine. And where did we buy in that we need a guardian of the threshold? Do we need some part of ourselves or some external authority to keep us in check, keep us in our box, keep us back from our spiritual ascension? You know, we have been in a deliberate, very elaborate plan to keep us from spiritual ascension, going back to Atlantean time. And that was, we're talking like tens of thousands of years, you know, and we have been on the verge of spiritual ascension, but programmed to step back from it. And it all has to do with that Saturn, that line of beings, powerful beings that are blocking the way, keeping us safe from ourselves, right? And we need to reevaluate these contracts. And so in our individual life, it's coming up everywhere where we have given our power away and where we have not stood up for ourselves. So it's a very powerful combination. The Mars trine Saturn, stand up for who you are, be true to who you are, get up and pull yourself up, right? And then Jupiter conjunct the South Node, and it's like, whoa, it's almost like I can see this a big scroll, and it's being unrolled, and it's got all these contracts and stories, and it's just being unrolled in front of us. And it's like, okay, good luck getting past this one. Like, you can't get, so that's interesting, because it's like the true thing that's blocking us from that higher frequency vibrations is, in a new paradigm, is this old karmic stories, right? So it's like we got to drop the stories and reinvent ourselves. Maybe this is that Pluto Saturn energy of creating something new. We're reinventing ourselves, becoming who we really are. This energy is so intense and so dynamic, and it's changing moment to moment. It's getting more and more intense as we move through these days, I think. And at the same time, the more intensity, the more opportunity for empowerment, like walking away from these old stories and never playing them out again. And that requires, like that Mars trine Uranus, to stand up for ourselves. I mean, Mars trine Chiron, to stand up for our true self, and finally take care of ourselves in that in our energy, in our power, recognize what we have and start holding it sacred, instead of bleeding out to everyone around us, constantly apologizing for existence. That's Chiron and Aries. It's like, oh, I don't know if I deserve to be on the earth. And a lot of souls feel that way. It's like, wait a minute, like, we need you. This is your destiny to be here. You went through so much to be here, to be a part of this experience right now. And you feel like you don't fit here. You shouldn't even be here. And nobody wants the energy you have. And it's just kind of like this hopeless cause. And how do I get through this experience? And we've got to just turn that train around, because it's an amazing time on the planet we've been waiting for so long. And it's time to step into our power and recognize that not only do we belong here, but it's like we are the light of the world, moving this energy into the new. And that's why it's so hard for us. And so right now is that alchemy type thing of using the intensity as power, taking that fuel of those intense karmic experiences that are just on the table right now, and the squeezing and the obstruction and the entanglements, and being like, yeah, okay, give it to me. I'm ready. Let's do this, and that is definitely the energy of this time. And I do think that if we can be present, we can really grow and leaps and bounds in our experience on this planet into who we really are, and out of that old garbage stories, And so if we can pay attention, it's very, very powerful. And so one of the things I'm going to be offering over these 8 days, go ahead and look for it, is an 8-day meditation retreat. It's just a daily meditation, about 20 minutes. Probably need like a half an hour to do it, to fit it into your day. But this is about creating a spa-like environment in your heart, finding this place where you can go within and find that peace and that presence and that support that can help you through these intensities. And just remember that, like, we're just so much more than this physical reality. And we might be getting squeezed and pushed around and banged around here, but we've got this place inside of ourselves that nobody can take from us, this peace in our heart and in our soul. And that's really what this world needs through this transition anyway. And so what a great way, win-win, to give it to ourselves and to give it to the planet, just by collectively offering that level of peace and retreat within. So look out for that next live video. And I will be back tomorrow for the day 2 of Saturn Pluto conjunction. Here we go, building a new paradigm together. So thanks so much for being here with me. I super appreciate your energy, and I can feel it. And I look forward to seeing you on the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.